Hey everyone, this is Aubrey Bracco with my new show, Odd With Aubry. On this show, I will be collecting weirdos and telling their stories. So I've never done a podcast before. You'll have to bear with me as I master all this tech stuff. But before Survivor, I was a community journalist, and I would report on things around town, and sometimes that included reporting on interesting people. So as you saw in Survivor, I've love analyzing people and getting to know them and being a little weird and wacky myself. I have always enjoyed getting to know people who are vulnerable and willing to let down their guard to show the quirky sides of themselves. And something I love is when you're talking to a new person and they share something that they think is a little odd about them, and then you share something that you think is a little bit weird about you, and you quickly realize that maybe you have more in common than you initially thought, and you both aren't so odd after all. So on the show, I will be talking about things that interest me and talking to people that interest me. And I'd also love to hear from you with questions, topics, people you want me to talk to, and maybe I'll even talk to you. This podcast will not be Survivor-centric, but I'm sure it will come up since it has been a huge part of my life. So if you have any suggestions, you can email me at oddwithaubry@gmail.com. You can also catch the podcasts at www.oddwithaubry.com. I'll also be posting them on iTunes and SoundCloud. And you can always reach me on Twitter at Aubry Bracco with no E in my first name. So today, for our first episode, I will be talking to Troyzan from Survivor One World and Survivor Game Changers. And I want you guys to get to know the Troyzan that I met on the first few days of the Cursed Mana Tribe in Game Changers. And I think you'll enjoy getting to know the Troyzan that I got to know. So let's give this a shot and see how it goes. Thanks for listening. Troy, you are the first person I'm going to talk to. I think I'm going to do a podcast because I want the world to know what's behind the green monster. How does that sound?
Well, if you want the world to know what's behind the green monster, it might not have to be an audio chat.
You're such a dog. I'm not going to do a podcast so it's all about Survivor. When I first met you, the thing I loved is that you're so open about your quirks that I felt comfortable with you right away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so much more than Survivor to me, like in my life, whatever. I can talk about any subject. I love talking about crazy shit or whatever. I have no filter, or I'm not like, oh, this subject, is off. I can't talk about that. Or like when you answer those questionnaires on Survivor, they said, what subjects are, off topic, or which subjects are you gonna, like really nothing. I mean, like everything's open.
Were you like a weirdo as a kid? Like, I'm not saying you're weird. I think you're normal, but
I was a wild child. I got in trouble in school a lot because I would never want to obey the rules in school. I was one of those kids that like I would talk out of place. I went to a private school from 4th grade all the way through like 10th grade. I was, Catholic grade school and Catholic high school. And it's kind of strict. When I first came into private school, I came from some little farm, school that had this town of like, 2,000, where I felt like I was just, I was like Mowgli. In the summer, all you see is just me running around in a pair of shorts. It's like, where's Troy again? It's like, I had longer hair, and I never wore a shirt. I never wore shoes. It's like I would take off from my house, and I'd be gone all day long. I didn't even know where I was.
So you're saying the green monster was born very young in Washington State?
Yeah, it wasn't the monster yet. It was like the green, what would you... It's the green caterpillar.
You're nuts. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I grew up in Washington State. I mean, I was born in Ellensburg, a little dink town at the base of the Cascade Mountains. And then we moved to Davenport, Washington. My father was a state patrolman in Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got transferred around, and then we ended up grew up my high school years in Spokane, Washington.
So I know you grew up in Washington, but the first thing I remember of you is your siblings. Can you tell us how many siblings you have and what are their names?
This is always funny because people are like, "Oh my God, your siblings are really all T's?" Yes. So I have there's 6 of us, brothers and sisters, 3 boys, 3 girls, and it goes Tracy, Troy, Todd, Terrell, Trent, and Trina. And my mom and dad, Steve and Rosie, so they're S and T. So it's like, or sorry, S and T. R. My dad is S, my mom is R, and we're T's. So yeah, and I always was just kind of a little bit like, I was always the goofy kid in school. I was always the funny kid, the kid like, prankster, joking around. I never took anything serious. All the classes I took in school, I didn't want to take any serious classes. Like I couldn't like get into, English and math and all the base. I would take art classes. I was like the artsy fartsy guy. I would try to get by with taking like as little of classes as possible. I had my first class in high school was called late arrival.
Oh my gosh, it's perfect for our alien fixation.
Yes, it goes to show you how much I was into school. Everyone else went to school. I slept in. That late arrival meant you didn't have a first class. I could just skip it. I don't know. I didn't even think about going to college. I just thought like I just got to get out of high school as easy as possible. How can I do this? And I took all art classes. I taught and actually was assistant in art classes. Yeah, so I was like the art guy. And then I took a few other, goofy ass classes and graduated. And then I didn't go to college right away. Just kind of like hung out in Spokane.
Wait, so what's your astrological sign, Troyzan? I should know this.
Okay, well, I'm surprised you don't.
I know, it's horrible.
Do you know these things? I mean, do you know personality? You're like, oh, wow, you seem like a blankety blank.
I mean, I think you're probably a water sign would be my guess.
Wrong. I'm a Leo.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that explains your fixation with fire, running around camp trying to burn it down.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not afraid of fire. I like fire.
You do. I remember on 4th of July, I mean, this isn't a survivor-centric podcast, but we just have to, just the image of Troyzan and the Green Monsters starting a bonfire on the beach, and, all that bamboo would be like gunshots into the wind. But you were just, one with the fire, man. That was your jam.
Oh, yeah, full on. I mean, the bigger the fire, the better. That was the biggest bonfire, I have to say, that I've ever been a part of in my life. I mean, I don't know if people realize how hot bamboo burns, and it burns fast, but that was insane. And I'm like, I've never felt heat like that, but I was in my element. I grabbed my little bamboo torch and did my Braveheart speech. Are you ready for a war? It was a fine moment for a fire sign. Just, I don't know, something about fires. And why do you think I slept by the fire? Okay, we always talk about Survivor, but it's always going to go back to this.
Of course.
That's why I slept by the fire every night. It was like right on the fire. Even in my first season, I slept right on it. And I would take, there was a moment where the fire would get so low. I'm like, screw this. I'm not waking up every hour. And I took 10 pieces of bamboo, giant log, and this thing lit up, and the girls thought I was actually trying to kill them because they woke up and their eyes were all wide open, like, oh my God, he's in the fire, because it was so hot. And they looked at me like, he's trying to kill us, he's going to burn us. It's like, I started laughing because it's like, it really was hot. And you know how that fires get.
Oh, they get big. And then if you put the bamboo, like I said it, but on my season, Joe, who didn't have the best hearing, didn't hear that when the bamboo would burst, it was like gunshots. So we all feel like we're in artillery fire, and it's just like pop, 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 and it's gigantic. And it's like the heat that comes off of that, you could brand a cow.
It's dangerous. When it pops, it's not like it just pops. It pops and there's, sparks and coals go flying everywhere. So it's actually like little, well, you shouldn't even say little, giant firecrackers that are going off, and the fire's going everywhere. But again, I'm a fire guy, so I can take a torch and go into the woods in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I think you're a pyro. Would you say you're a pyromaniac, Troy?
No, well, when I was a kid, I did burn there was a field across the street from our house. And I don't know how it happened, but I burned the field down. So at that point, I think my dad was like, okay, wait a minute, time out. What is your story here? I don't know how it happened.
What is your story?
I just remember getting in a lot of trouble for burning the field down.
How do you burn down a field if it's already on the ground?
Well, no, it was dry. Like I grew up in a wheat farming town in Davenport, Washington,
right.
And I think across the street it wasn't wheat; it was real tall grass. And I wanted to start a small fire, but this, as a kid, you don't realize the small fire turns into a big fire real quick.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have a hose or something, So yeah, I burnt the field down.
Wow. Just the beginning on a resume of many impressive things that you've done in your life.
Yes, this is at 5 years old probably, or maybe, who knows, 4 or 5 years old I did that. Like I said, I was like the Mowgli kid, I mean, I'm surprised I didn't, get the name Troyzan sooner in my life. It didn't happen until way late.
Wait, so when did you get the nickname Troyzan?
I have a buddy. He's a photographer too. He's worked for like 50 years for Sports Illustrated. He's one of the best sports photographers on the planet. His name's Walter Yost.
Okay.
And I still work with him here and there. Anyway, he gives nicknames to everybody that he's ever worked with. I started to work with him back in like 92. And first he started calling me Ramar of the Jungle. I guess there was some movie back in the 50s or 60s where there was this character named Ramar. Well, then that went from like, I don't know, about 1990, whatever, 5. He goes, I started growing my hair a little bit. He goes, you're more like a Tarzan guy now. And then that's when I had just adopted 12 marmoset monkeys. Well, I actually adopted 2. Those 2 monkeys had 10 babies, and then I had a troop of 12 marmoset monkeys in my backyard.
Wow. It's called a troop? A troop of monkeys?
A troop of marmoset.
Gotcha.
And so he is like, you live in a jungle now, bro. He goes, you got monkeys. You're like a Tarzan. He goes, you're really more like a Troyzan. And it's just kind of one of those things where someone says it once, and then he started to call me that. And on jobs, people would look at me and they'd say, "Why is he call? Is your name Troyzan for real?" So then that caught on. My family started to call me that because they heard it. Then, like, my neighbors would start to. So it was really only between my friends and my neighbors as a joke. It really was a joke. It's like, we're gonna call you Troyzan, ha. When I was finally got on Survivor on season 24, you know how you fill out those forms and they ask you if you have a nickname. Oh yeah. And I thought about it. It's like, well, not that many people call me it, and I don't know if I should put it down or not. But I wrote it down. I'm like, well, I even wrote, I think, well, once in a while people call me, my friends and neighbors call me Troyzan, and just thinking nothing of it, like no big deal. Yeah. And so, of course, when I made the show, there's a guy that wants to be called Tarzan on my cast. I mean, he wanted to be. His name's Greg Smith.
I never knew his name. That's pretty funny. Never knew who he was.
I know. The most regular name on the planet, Greg Smith.
He looks like he should be in Crosby, Stills, and Nash to me.
Yes, exactly. And I'm like, I can't believe this guy's name is Tarzan, or he wants to be called Tarzan. And at that point, I was just still Troy. I mean, everyone in the cast knew me as Troy. And this Tarzan character, he knows a lot about monkeys, and I asked him, why do you call yourself Tarzan? And he's totally into, like, he's traveled the planet, he's been to the Amazon. He actually has raised monkeys himself, and he had lemurs, which are as a primate. And I'm like, it's funny that you call yourself Tarzan, buddy. And this is just like a conversation we had on the side. I say, some of my friends and family, they call me Troyzan. Is that crazy? He goes, oh my God, really? You called Troyzan? So at that point, he started calling me Troyzan a little bit around camp. But it wasn't until we went, like, before a challenge. Jeff, you know how he asked you a question. Hey, everybody, so how you doing? And blah, blah, blah. He asked each person a little question. He says to Tarzan, so what's been going on around camp? And Tarzan's like, well, we made a fire. We did this. We did some dancing around the fire. And Troyzan and I went down. He goes, Troyzan? And he goes, who's that? He goes, Troy. And then Jeff looks at me. He goes, your name, do you go by Troyzan? That's when it stopped. He's like,
oh my gosh.
Once Jeff Probst calls you Troyzan, then that's it. Yeah. So it's like one of those where, I don't know. I guess now, I mean, I don't, it would probably feel strange when some people call me Troy. Like on Game Changers, if you guys called me Troy, I thought it would sound weird to me.
Yeah, you would probably think the person was thinking of like voting you out because it would be so suspect.
Yeah, like when you get scolded by your parent and they call you your full name.
I'm glad I didn't tell anybody that my nickname was Oddzilla growing up because I was such a weirdo.
Can you imagine Oddzilla forever is known as in the Survivor world?
Yeah, like can you? That's even funnier than like Debbie's changing jobs, like Oddzilla and Troyzan on the Mana tribe. What goofs. So Troy, I've gotten a lot of feedback from people who listened to my RHAP interview. People were very intrigued by the fact that you and I share something that it was always normal to me growing up, and that's a love of aliens and everything extraterrestrial and abductions. Like when I was a kid, right. I remember Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where he's building Devil's Tower, Richard Dreyfuss, with the mashed potatoes. And every time I ate mashed potatoes, I'd start building Devil's Tower in the kitchen. And yeah, we bonded out there on Survivor over the movie Contact and Signs. I love both of those films.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Contact to me is just fantastic. I just am fascinated by it. I think that I'm just, you know how we talked out there. I'm thinking, you know, I would start talking about the size of the universe. And I just always love it when I can like tell people, like, do you have any inkling how huge it is? And I just don't think people grasp the enormity of it. Like even the size of just our galaxy alone is beyond your brain.
It's insane
to me.
What is it about Contact?
It's always been the nature of me. I just would stare at the stars and I would be fascinated with how many there were. And then I started to like study the size of the universe. And I thought there's just no possible way that there's just nothing else out there. I mean, and when Jodie Foster in Contact said something about like, she was talking about in the end of the movie, the size of the universe. Mm-hmm. And somebody said, do you think anything else is out there? And she goes, well, if there wasn't, it would be an awful waste.
An awful waste of space.
An awful waste of space. And it was so, I'm like, oh my God.
I know.
It's so true. It's like, I don't care what anybody believes. Like everyone has their own religious beliefs and beliefs like in a God or a universe or energy or whatever. But if there is a entity that has created all this, what would be the point of creating something so huge, billions and billions of light years across, to make you think, well, it's just because I'm so big, I'm going to make something so big and then I put nothing in it, just a bunch of planets that are spinning around with nothing on them? Like, give me a break.
That would be like building a big house and not putting in furniture.
It'd be pointless to be building like a house the size of a city and saying like,
it's insane.
Yeah, it does make no sense if you figured out the size of the universe. And I think I said something out there like I was trying to tell people like, you know, what a light year actually was. Debbie would chime in with her own like eccentric ways of speaking about the universe. And I would say like the star Vega, I think it's either one of the closest stars, 4 light years away. And I'd be like 4 light years is like nothing as far as the size of the universe, because there's some stars that are hundreds of millions of light years away. And so I'm like, listen, so you'd have to travel the speed of light, get in some capsule that we don't have right now. Travel the speed of light for 4 solid years. That means you'd have to go 186,000 miles per second for 4 years. That means if I say this, 1001, I've just traveled around the Earth 6 times. So that's the speed. You got that? Just traveled around the Earth 6 times. That's the speed I'm going. So that speed alone is beyond your brain. And you'd have to be going that speed for 4 solid years just to get to the star that's 4 light years away, which is Vega. Beyond your brain. And you're telling me there's nothing else out there?
Give me a break.
I mean, come on. It's a waste of space.
It is a
like
waste
you don't
of
need,
space.
we would talk for this. I like this shit out here. And I'm like, I know that an alien has come in my backyard. Okay, I didn't see a spaceship or whatever, but think about it. If there is some other life out there that perhaps is a million years more advanced than us, you wouldn't know what their ship would look like or be like, or you wouldn't, there would be some certain energy forces that you just couldn't even grasp.
Who knows? Like an ant could be an alien coming through an anthill.
Well,
You wouldn't know. They're just hiding that well.
For them to even probably try to communicate would be very difficult in a sense. It'd be almost like, well, speaking of ants, if I took an ant and tried to somehow train it or explain to it how a computer worked, it would be impossible. I mean, the thought of trying to do that is mind-boggling, to do that to an ant. And so that would be the same as that some alien that is so far advanced than me trying to tell me about life and what that person actually is and how the world is, explain it to me as a human that's like a million years behind him.
So do you think aliens would be, if they encountered the humanity as a whole? I mean, I know they've encountered you and they've encountered my dad, and we're going to get to that. But if they encountered humanity as a whole, do you think aliens would be kind, or do you think it would be an adversarial thing? Like the language barrier would be too much. Which would it be?
I believe 100% kind. I just feel like it's like, because they're so far advanced, I think that the humans have so far to go as far as kindness. Yeah, I think the universe can't work on, I don't think it would stay together if it was based on like fear and hate and war and anger and all that kind of shit. I think that's just in our own world, and it's going to take thousands of years to get to the point where we realize probably we're a lot more than what we think we are. And how we can use our minds. I mean, we are advancing, but it's a slow advance. If you took a person that was like just 2,000 years ago and said, go run the 100-yard dash. Right. Run it in 20 seconds. And now someone can run it in 9. It's just like, I think of it as like that. That's just a physiologically advancement. But I think our brains are like that too. They don't advance like super fast. Like, it's one of those things where if I tried to explain to a person in the Roman days a cell phone, they'd fucking look at me like they couldn't grasp any part of it. So it's like one of those things where, some things you just wouldn't be able to grasp from an alien. I just think that they're so far. He would try, he or she or whatever it is. I mean, who even knows if it is a he or she. I mean, I just can't wait for the time when we step into a thing and just disappear, and then you end up, and all your body's like somehow molecularly broken down and then just put back together somewhere else. I just in my brain, I always have this thought, and people say, "Oh, that can't happen." I'm like, I never think that. I'm like, there's some way to figure out something. We figured out certain things, like so far. I mean, people would never believe that you could watch a television 200 years ago.
Oh yeah, no way.
I'm saying they couldn't imagine they wouldn't imagine I could talk on a device like this and talk to another person.
Life finds a way, right. In the words of Dr. Malcolm.
Yes, life finds a way. Like that's from that's from whatchamacallit?
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park. There you go.
The best.
What was the character's name?
Dr. Malcolm, not like our Malcolm.
I thought you meant Dr. Malcolm. Yes.
Dr. Ian Malcolm. The butterfly effect.
It could be Malcolm Fryer. It could be Dr. Malcolm Fryer. That guy he's smart like that.
Oh, yeah. Malcolm's a lot smarter than people realize. He hides behind that pretty boy look. We talked about like space, light years when we were out there on the Mana tribe, the cursed Mana tribe, the first few days. And I told you that my father, who brought me up on alien movies, is convinced that he was abducted by aliens because he found what he believes was a microchip that came out of his tooth. I always said as a kid that it was probably a bad filling from the 1960s, but you also told me that you had an close encounter of the third kind, And your experience was a little different. I even got you and my father on FaceTime together to describe your alien encounters. I know that you were in bed and like you couldn't get up, but can you describe that?
You know, where I live is kind of remote. I live out towards the Everglades, and there's really nothing out here. And I live on 10 acres, but there's, you know, trees and things. I don't have some open field where some, you know, spaceships go, you know, land or whatever. But I always felt like the aliens, they don't land anyway. I think there's some form of like energy that they can grab you or grab your energy. Because I believe we all have energy, and that's almost like proven scientifically if you break it down to like, you know, quarks and quantum physics.
Oh, I love that stuff.
Right, it's all energy. We're all energy. Just we're all in a different. Some is fast, some is slower, but it's all the same energy. That's been proven. Anyway, I think there's some kind of energy field that they can grab you, because I was in my bedroom. At some point, I felt like a magnet. That's the only way I can describe it. It was like a giant, like energy that just held me down, pushed me down. And I knew something was in the room. And I halfway opened my eyes, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like nuts. So I'm like,
yeah.
So I'm laying there, and I didn't feel scared. I was just like, kind of like, yeah, because I've always wanted to be visited by an alien. I want to know, because I want to be like, oh yeah, all this goddamn time I've been alive that I thought was true, it's true.
Yeah.
And it would debunk a lot of people's like beliefs and religious books and everything else. I'd be like, if I actually got sucked up into some, you know, ship or vehicle, or just actually stood in front of one and somehow they communicated to me, I'd be like, yeah, like now you got to change all your shit. You got all your books and all your shit, because I've been visited. So I was just held down. There was no communication. I just felt like they were looking me over. They were doing some kind of, it was like this, I don't know if it was a study or what, but it lasted for like, I don't know, a good half an hour. I wasn't dreaming, because I know what a dream feels like. And I wasn't imagining things, although the room was dark. You know, I could feel. And when I opened my eyes, just you know how when you slightly open your eyes?
Yeah, but you know someone's there.
I know. No, I mean, I saw something there. So like, but it was one of those things where I wanted to stay calm, and maybe it was because of what I was being communicated to. I stayed calm and closed my eyes, basically close your eyes again, Troy. Like it's fine, whatever's going on. And I felt closed. I felt like I should keep my eyes closed, or at least keep myself calm, because that way it wouldn't go away. I wanted them to know I was cooperating with them. I only saw one form.
Okay.
There was a moment where I got like nervous, because I'm like, I don't like being claustrophobic.
Oh, I hate that myself.
Being held down was a little bit like that.
Right.
But I felt like if I wanted to move, I could. But for some reason, I had to stay completely still. So whatever force was holding me completely still, from all my legs, all my limbs, you know, I wasn't like locked down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just held down.
Lovingly held, firmly but lovingly.
Well, I don't know if it was lovingly. It didn't feel like someone was trying to. Wasn't going to mount me looking for the green monster or something. So, although that would have been wild. Can you imagine? So it was just, there was that. And then it was like the second I kind of thought, I'm okay, I'm good, and it was gone. It was like there was no more force, no more feeling of a force. You know, I mean, I think people have certain things in their life where they feel energy, a force, a communication that you don't just, that you can speak to somebody without speaking to them, whatever that is, I think everyone has experienced one small bit of whatever that is at some point in their lives. They can't explain it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so like, what is that?
Right.
Got to be something. It's just nothing. It's not nothing. It's not something you make up in your brain.
Yeah, I'm trying to think for me. For me, it's things that repeat, or like there'll be a number, and it'll be a day, and I'll see it like 5 times or something, and I feel like the universe is all stitched together somehow, and something's repeating for a reason, even though I don't know why.
Oh yeah, or synchronicity, where something happens to you and the same person at the same time, or like coincidences. I don't take really coincidences as coincidences anymore. I used to, but coincidences to me are forms of like energy, like two magnets that like are just attracted to each other. Why was I attracted to talk to you on the island as opposed to everybody else?
Right.
It's true. Because those energies are moving around, and eventually they're going to come together and connect. And I think sometimes we throw stuff out and go, "Oh, that's weird," or that can't happen. That's magic, or whatever.
We can't explain it yet. That's all it is.
Right, but there's something there. So it's just one of those things where I think it's the part of your brain, or our brains, that we're not using, because we don't have to use our brains anymore to even like focus on anything outside of our, TV, cell phone, social media, whatever. So we don't sit outside and just look at the clouds.
They always say that kids are able, like if people believe in reincarnation and stuff like that, like kids are more attuned to former lives and things like that. There was a story I saw where a kid went over this bridge in Pennsylvania or something with his mother and said, "Mommy, I died here." And then they went home to the house and he drew like in incredible specificity, like a cannon and then a Civil War soldier. And they were able to identify something from the photo and trace back that this soldier had died in this battle by that bridge.
Right. There's just no way to explain that except that he's been there. I mean, to me, it's like there's no possible way.
It's insane.
To say that it's just like by chance he just happens to know all this and draws this. No way.
It's totally wild.
I mean, I'm 100% believe in reincarnation, because to me, it goes back to like why not? Why can't everything be possible? Why not? I mean, even religions, certain religions say that to you, like their religious leaders or their will say like anything is possible. Everything is possible, if you believe it. You have the universe, or you have everything inside you that you need. So to me, it's like, well, then why not? What would be so weird about that we could come back just in a different form? Why is that so strange? It's not to me. If you just take it on it's a giant game in a sense. Like you can come back and you can learn, and then you can go forward, and then you can go to the next body, and you can experience life for thousands and thousands of years in different ways as a human, as a soul, and you can experience those. You can be a man, a woman, a poor, old, fat, whatever, fat, thin, and you can experience everything, as opposed to just going through one life as one sex and one type of person, and that's it. Why, if I was God, and I'll just use that term, then I'd be like, hell, I'll give you the chance that you can have as fucking many lives as you want, 10,000, and you can experience life. I mean, life as it really should be, in all forms, in all ways. Why not? That's not that strange to me. There's so many cases around the world where people, like you said about this boy, like they do remember specific things that there's no possible way that they could explain it any other way. Why are some kids that are like 5 years old all of a sudden they can just play a piano like it's like they've been playing it their whole lives? Or they can remember numbers for 100 in a row, like they're 3 years old, or whatever. Or why are we attracted to certain parts of the earth and we're not attracted to others? Like each one of us are attracted to a certain place and we don't know why we're really attracted to that. We've never
Where
even
is that
been
for
there.
you? Where is that for you? What place are you attracted to?
The Amazon.
The Amazon. I'm Latin America, so like Costa Rica, South America. That's my attraction.
Right.
When I went to Costa Rica, I have to tell you, like I've never felt more at home in a place ever as I did when I was there. I felt like I could stay there my whole life and I'd be fine.
I'm 1,000% attracted to the Roman Colosseum since as long as I could know, probably since I was 2 years old.
Really? I could see you in like that little Roman, like those little outfits and.
Yeah, looking at the Roman Colosseum when I was a kid, and I remember like building it when I was in like 6th or 7th grade out of clay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
School project, and as I was building, I'm like, I'm just completely like, I know I've experienced something about Romans. I've never even been there though, but I have this like, I'm sure the day I stand in front of the Coliseum, I'll probably lose it or something.
You've never been?
No.
You gotta go.
I've never been to the Amazon.
Then you gotta go. What's stopping you?
I know. Maybe that's a show. Troyzan visits his past lives.
I think that would be amazing. Also, if you are reincarnated and I am, maybe we can work together on Survivor the next time a little more closely.
Oh, yeah, maybe a little bit, something like that.
I think we have some good stuff. I think we're both weird.
Well, definitely. Yeah, well, come on. I mean, we're both whack nuts. I mean, out there, I mean, that's what's just so surprising to me because knowing that we're like wacky, and I knew you were like kind of wacky like me out there, and we would even look at each other in the mornings and just go, wacko. You're like, what? It's like, I just am surprised we didn't work together.
I know.
Which is bizarre. I mean, I guess it's not that bizarre because you go into it in a weird way where it's like, I think if we were just like on a show like Naked and Afraid, then we'd completely connect and instantly. It wouldn't be this like competition battle thing where you have to like feel like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally.
Weird, like right off the bat, you feel like you need to connect with whoever, and you connect with whoever right away, and then 5 days later, like, fuck, I shouldn't be connected to them, but you're connected, so you got to stay connected in a sense.
Oh yeah, it's every man for himself. It's right off the bat. It's like a time and a place, and what can I do in this time and place?
Right. Your first day's decisions are the ones that you're like affect you for the rest of the game. Your first day's decisions.
Oh, 100%. Don't talk to Tony.
Right. Yeah. Well, there you go.
No. I enjoyed talking about some of this wackiness, and I'm eager to see how it pans out.
I love talking this kind of shit. It's awesome because it's like sometimes I'll talk to people and I'll go, "Are you grasping this, or am I just getting too weird for you?" And then sometimes I go, "Bro, you're out there."
It's all good.
I said, and then like, and I haven't even smoked anything.
Au natural.
Oh my God! Can you imagine if I actually did smoke a drink? Oh my God, you'd probably get some whack nut stories. Like you'd be like, okay, now you gotta reel it back a notch, buddy.
Oh my god.
Now you're real. Put your clothes on for one, dude. Come on now.
Oh my gosh.
And reel it back.
You're nuts. So do you want people to follow you on Twitter or no? Where are we on the Twitter train these days?
They can follow me if they're cool. If they're jerkies and they want to be smartasses, I'm like, yeah, all right, then whatever. I'm an old school guy. Like I just like to have fun. I'm way more laid back than people think, and I love to talk to fans that want to BS whatever. Yeah, but and if you want to get on the old block train, hey, no problem. I can block your ass. I should just start one account only. Just call it Troyzan block, and just block anybody that 0 followers because I blocked them all.
I think you should do it. So your handle is at Troy_Zan, so people can follow Troyzan.
Yes.
Troy Robertson, the later rival at Troy_Zan, owner of the Green Monster underwear seen on Survivor Game Changers.
There you go. Yeah. Awesome. Didn't get a hashtag out of it, but that's okay. And then I'm just Troyzan, no underscore on Instagram.
Okay, yeah, and you've got some nice model shots and stuff up there, so you keep it fresh.
Yes, there's some model shots. There's some nature stuff. There's actually some old model shots of me, which is back in the 80s, like back in the day.
Oh, I have to say, I saw those and I was impressed.
That's a whole nother subject. That's a whole nother, we can talk about that that's crazy shit.
Yeah, we'll start with the aliens, but I think we might have to have a whole conversation sometime about you and your modeling career.
Modeling days, traveling around Europe back in the day in a suitcase. Yeah, I got some good stories there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being my first victim, Troy. We'll see what happens. Hopefully people keep listening.
I'm happy to be the first. I think I'm very actually, proud to be, I'm just honored that you would pick me to be your first victim and your first, what's it going to be called now? I'm Odd.
Odd with Aubry.
Odd with Aubry. Yes.
We're both certainly odd. So.
Yes.
Well, thanks for being here, Troy. And I am going to close this out.
Okay. Well, it's nice being here, and it was fantastic.
Thanks for tuning in to the first episode of Odd with Aubry. This is Aubry Bracco, and I'll catch you next time.
Well, good afternoon there, folks. This is Mr. Troy Robertson in Mobile Chopper Unit number 7. We're flying high above the Redlands of Florida, looking for the marmoset monkeys. They've escaped once again. Yes, folks, it's a crazy, crazy day. I'm going to have to get back to you on that one, and over and out, buckwheat. 10-4.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
You're crazy.